We are live. Welcome back to the show. Today is a lovely Monday, the 14th of July, folks. Today, we really seriously have a lot of breaking news to go over today. Now, something very strange has happened regarding this Jeffrey Epstein case. Epstein's partner in crime, Ghislaine Maxwell, is reportedly ready to talk about the Epstein case and start shedding some insight, listing names, whatever, into this entire situation. So there's a long write-up. There's a breaking news bombshell article going through all of this. We have some supplementary footage going through this as well. We're going to break down this entire situation. If Maxwell comes out and starts talking about this, it could potentially change everything. And then we also have a couple conspiracy theories as to why this might be happening now of all times. We're going to talk about that. We also have, and I kid you not, a breaking news update as of about 1 hour ago from Laura Trump, who is Donald Trump's daughter, talking about what is going on right now inside of the Trump administration. And maybe from the Trump administration themselves, we're going to be getting some more information soon about the Epstein situation as well, that maybe Trump has been persuaded by all of us here on social media, by his electorate, talking about this, expressing our concerns. Maybe Trump is coming around and he's going to shed some light on this stuff himself. We also, beyond the Epstein situation, we have a massive new bombshell set of news regarding the Democrats' egregious abuse of Joe Biden's autopen. And as it would seem, the Democrats' house of cards is pretty much entirely crumbling down at this very moment. So, folks, really, without further delay, what I want to do is hop into this breaking news regarding the Epstein stuff. Let's kick off the show with the Epstein stuff today. You're not going to believe what's going on. Breaking news. Jeffrey Epstein's accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, is ready to, quote, reveal the truth of the PDF file client list, say insiders. So why are the Republicans blocking her? Are the Republicans blocking her from talking about this? She wants to get up in front of Congress and spill the beans. Let's keep reading here. And once again, guys, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning in today. If you are new, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Please like today's broadcast. We have a lot of stuff to break down today. Thank you all very much for tuning in on this lovely Monday. Miss Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell, is willing to speak in front of Congress about the Epstein files. Sources have told the Daily Mail. Folks, this right here, this story is the biggest bombshell story of the day. Everybody is talking about this. Maxwell, who is age 63, is the only person behind bars. She's serving a 20-year prison sentence on numerous child sex trafficking charges, 5 federal convictions she has been found guilty of a couple years ago. She's serving a 20-year sentence, despite the fact that Jeffrey Epstein allegedly controlled a web of underage girls. This was a massive operation. She's the only one behind bars. Additionally, Epstein's victims allegedly were passed around to his wealthy friends and billionaire business associates who regularly visited his homes, including his private island, Little St. James Island. Now, a source said, despite the rumors, Ghislaine was never offered any kind of plea deal. She would be more than happy to sit in front of Congress and tell her story. So according to one source, there wasn't even an effort made to get Maxwell's side of the story in front of the public. In fact, maybe she has been silenced, maybe intentionally. Maybe there's been a concerted effort to keep her from telling her side of the story. And so she has come out, allegedly, according to this breaking news bombshell story of the day, she wants to actually come out and speak to Congress and start naming names and dropping, I was going to say the truth. Let's say her truth, because keep in mind, she's an evil woman. She is undeniably evil. So then you have to discuss, is she even trustworthy in the first place? She was for 15 to 20 years a part of the Epstein child sex trafficking operation. We know that her father was an intelligence asset for Mossad. He was a Mossad spy. Was she involved in that directly herself? I don't know. But I would say that she is frankly not. Here she is right here. Miss Maxwell is not the most trustworthy source, so whatever she does say, if she does say something at some point in the future, we got to really dissect it and take it apart and take it with a grain of salt, because if she starts yapping, if she starts talking, telling her side of the story, who's to say if it's actually true or not? What is the truth? The truth remains to be seen. Maxwell was convicted in 2022 over her role in a scheme to sexually exploit and abuse multiple underage girls with Epstein over the course of a decade. And here they are, lovely couple, lovely couple. Maxwell, 63 years old, is the only person behind bars. And here she is. This is her mugshot. That's one hell of a mugshot. There she is in prison. She's in federal prison, 5 federal convictions, 20-year cumulative sentence. She's been behind bars for about 3 years now. Maxwell argues she should have been protected from prosecution as a part of a non-prosecution agreement made by Epstein, her former lover and boss, in 2007, when he agreed to plead guilty to 2 minor charges of prostitution in a sweetheart deal, which saw him spend little time behind bars. So she's saying, listen, she shouldn't even be in jail in the first place. It's all a misunderstanding. And now controversy continues to rage over the Department of Justice's statement that there is no Epstein client list, and the release of videos from inside New York's Metropolitan Correctional Center, which the DOJ says proves he took his own life in 2019 while being held in jail on sex trafficking charges. Now, we know, we've talked about this a lot in the past couple days. This footage that the FBI released of inside of this correctional center, which supposedly proves that nobody entered the cell, he took his own life, there's no conspiracy. This footage is baloney. This footage is bull crap. You can't even see the prison cell door. There is the magic missing minute. This foot also seems like the metadata of this footage indicates the footage is actually spliced together. It's highly edited before the public got access to it. That's us. So this footage proves nothing. But anyway, that's what they're talking about. Critics have pointed to the fact that there is a crucial missing minute from the jailhouse video that also does not show the door or indeed even the inside of Epstein's jail cell. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. This footage proves nothing. The scandal, the alleged cover-up, is this an alleged cover-up or is this a cover-up? This is not an alleged cover-up. This is a cover-up. We are not being given all of the information. So the cover-up has prompted a rebellion amongst President Trump's loyal MAGA base. Now, folks, I'm going to tell you something. I'm a young guy. I've been dialed into the Trump MAGA sphere. I'm sure like a lot of you guys since 2015, since President Trump came down that golden escalator about a decade ago now. This is my opinion. Let me know if you agree or disagree. Trump voters have never been more pissed off than they are right now. And you can think, oh, this isn't a big deal, whatever. Listen, still, I think the fact stands, whether or not you think this is a big deal or not. I have personally never seen Trump voters more upset with Trump and the handling of this entire situation than I am seeing right now. Now, is it a revolt? Is it a party-wide revolt? I wouldn't go so far to say that. I would not say that. It is true, though. I think the undeniable truth is a lot of people are freaking pissed. And actually, I want to tell you something. I think it's good that people are pissed, and I think it's good that people are talking about this. I think it's good that people are letting their voices be known, because maybe, we're going to get to this here in a couple minutes, maybe this outrage, this uproar from the base, that's us, maybe it has actually already had an effect. Maybe Trump is listening to all of us, giving our feedback here, expressing our frustration. Maybe Trump is going to respond to that. And we're going to talk about that here in a minute. Pay attention. Okay, the scandal, the alleged cover-up, has prompted a rebellion against President Trump's loyal MAGA base. Some even believe Attorney General Pam Bondi should be fired after promising to release all the files relating to Epstein and his high-profile male friends, only to apparently renege on that promise. On Saturday night, President Trump posted a rebuttal to accusations of a cover-up on social media site Truth Social. He said, "For years, it's Epstein over and over again. Why are we not giving publicity to the files written by Obama, crooked Hillary, Comey, Brennan, and the losers and criminals in the Biden administration?" said Trump a couple days ago, 2 days ago. The article goes on to say, the Epstein cover-up was also a main topic of conversation among attendees of this weekend's Student Action Summit in Tampa. This is the TPUSA event, We watched the Tucker Carlson clip the other day where he says, yeah, this is a cover-up, and also very likely Epstein was an asset of Mossad. You had Charlie Kirk kind of saying the same thing. You had Megyn Kelly kind of saying the same thing. That kind of seems to be the narrative right now, that Epstein was an asset. He was a foreign intelligence asset. Likely Mossad is what a lot of people seem to be saying. And that this entire situation reeks. Something is rotten here. We're going to keep on moving on here. And we're going to say, let's see. Sharon Allen, an attendee of this event, told NBC News, it's not even about Pam Bondi to me. It's like, look, Trump, we elected you because you were supposed to be different. So you have to prove to us that you are different. A source close to Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell, told the Daily Mail that the former girlfriend of Epstein, who continues to protest her innocence, she still says she is innocent, would, quote, welcome the chance to sit in front of Congress and tell her story. Maxwell wants to talk here. She does. Hey, special teams, thank you very much. I appreciate that big super chat. The source said, close to Maxwell, congressional hearings have been held into everything from JFK's assassination to 9/11. The Epstein files rank up there with those cases. I think it's fair to say I think it's a pretty big deal. I think people are pissed off. People want to know what is going on here. Yeah, I think it's fair to say that. The Epstein files rank up there with those cases. Ghislaine would be willing to speak before Congress and to tell her story. Maxwell is also fighting to have her appeal heard by the Supreme Court. On July 14th, lawyers for the U.S. government will submit their response to her plea for the Supreme Court to take up her case. Folks, for anybody that says this is not a big deal, it doesn't matter, who cares, we have other stuff to talk about, I want you to know I completely disagree with you. Just fundamentally, I think it is a massive deal because here's the implication, okay? If all of this stuff is true, if the conspiracy is right, and it seems to be like pretty valid here, what this would mean is that there is an international cabal of child sex traffickers that are blackmailing our political elite here in the U.S. That is a problem. If all of our, or not, maybe not all, but if a lot of our political ruling class, the Washington, D.C. elite, our elected representatives, if they are being blackmailed by an international group of child sex traffickers that are using this to blackmail them, to extort them, yeah, that is a big problem. Let's be very clear about what the implication here is. If this is true, that's what this would mean, okay? That is a big problem. So anybody that's, oh, come on, it's not that big of a deal. Also, I think anybody that has a woman in their life that they love, if you have a wife or a mother or a daughter or a sister, whatever, if you're just like a decent person, it's like, yeah, listen, we got to get to the bottom of this. This is a problem. We had thousands of underage female victims here. To be told that this is just not an issue, regardless of the political implications, it's like, listen, this is a human issue. I love women. I've got women in my life that I love, that I care about, that I cherish. This is a problem. This is a serious issue, and it's not going to go away. People are going to keep talking about it. Let's move on. President Trump's former first buddy, Elon Musk, has been sensationally claiming that there is a cover-up because Trump is mentioned in the Epstein files, something sources close to Maxwell say is a, quote, false flag. Now, there's nuance to the conversation. This is also worth addressing here. We have known that Donald Trump's name is mentioned in the Epstein files since February because he released a portion of the Epstein files himself. What is that, 5 months ago now? Okay. This is the nuance. This is why this situation is so incredibly difficult, complex, and annoying to talk about. Just because someone's name is in the Epstein files does not mean that they partook in sex trafficking or that they were a client of this terrible stuff that Epstein and Maxwell were doing. That's not what that means. Epstein was genuinely a well-connected, socialite, billionaire, charismatic guy. Just because at some point in the last 20 years you had a conversation with Epstein at a cocktail mixer does not mean that you were in on what he was doing, right? And so this is why it's so important that we actually have total, full transparency. We have total disclosure so that we, the people, can determine who did what, when did they do it, who was involved in what. Jeffrey, not everybody that shook Epstein's hand over the last 20 years is a PDF file as a child sexual predator. That's absurd. That's ridiculous. Okay? And that's why it's so important that we get to the bottom of this. Because until then, you're going to have people that are just making crazy assumptions here. Let's keep on reading here. President Trump was photographed with Epstein several times and they ran in the same circles, but Trump was one of the first to break all contact with Epstein because they fell out over a business deal and Epstein's treatment of women. The informed source said. I did some background research into this. Donald Trump cut contact, to be very clear, Donald Trump cut contact with Epstein in 2005. This is about a year and a half before Epstein started facing charges of underage sex trafficking. It was halfway through 2006 is when charges were first brought. The allegations were made against Jeffrey Epstein. In 2008, he was found guilty on 2 charges of this child sex trafficking thing. He spent a little bit of time in prison. They said it was a sweetheart deal. He got out pretty fast. So a year and a half before any of that stuff even happened, before any charges were brought against Epstein, President Trump had sussed this guy out. He said, listen, this guy's a freak. This guy is a freaking weirdo. I am banning you from all of my properties. President Trump banned him from all of his properties in Atlantic City, down in Florida, in New York. He said, listen, I don't want anything to do with this guy. Okay, so, and like the article says, he was one of the first people to cut him off. Keep on reading here. There are no big shocks about President Trump and the Epstein files, but there are a lot of powerful men involved and a lot of money, with a lot of money, and it'll come down to following the money. The Department of Justice has said no one else is likely to be prosecuted in relation to the Epstein case, including Britain's Prince Andrew, who is accused by Virginia Giuffre of allegedly sleeping with her when she was 17 years old and underage, and also sex trafficked by Epstein himself and Maxwell. There's that famous photo of all of them together. You guys have seen it. You guys might not know this. Prince Andrew of the British royal family, a couple years ago, he paid off Giuffre. It was an out-of-court settlement to the tune of, if I remember right, $22 or $23 million. He paid her to drop her accusations and to pretty much shut the hell up. And she took the money. However, within about 18 months, she was dead. She died actually a couple months ago. Just a couple months ago. She, allegedly... I don't know. It's a weird situation. She got hit by a bus. She was saying prior to dying that she was worried for her safety. She was worried for her life and that she is not at risk of taking her own life. She said, I would never do that. And then she ended up getting hit by a bus, and then she passed away in the hospital shortly after. Little bit weird. Anyway, Prince Andrew has consistently and vehemently denied all charges against him and settled a lawsuit with Giuffre with no admission of wrongdoing. Mrs. Giuffre she took her own life earlier this year. Yeah, that's a little bit weird. That seems to happen. Very, very strange. Now, folks, we're going to keep on moving on. So, folks, this is the bombshell news of the day. Maxwell is ready to speak in front of Congress. She wants her side of the story to be told. Keep in mind, this is what the people are mad about. It's been a week. It's a week later, and Pam Bondi, who is the Attorney General of the Department of Justice, she has said there are no press conferences. Disclosure is done. The American people demand and deserve answers. This is not going away. I think this is right. I don't know about you guys. I think this conversation is not going anywhere. Until we get more information, until we get something from the Trump administration, people are going to continue to be pissed. This is a problem. This entire situation is a problem for multiple reasons. One, the Trump administration, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, Pam Bondi, President Trump himself, they were campaigning on this topic. They were talking about this topic. Now, was this the number one campaign promise? No. Was this in the top 10 campaign promises? No, but this was a campaign promise nonetheless. And up until about 5-6 weeks ago, we were still hearing from Pam Bondi inside the Trump administration that we are going to get closure on this. We're going to learn more about this. And then we had the rug pulled out from under our feet. So there's that. It was a little bit deceptive. A lot of people feel betrayed and lied to. Okay, rightfully so. Also, this is just, people are sick of government cover-ups. It's the age of the internet. It's the age of, ease of access to information, and people are not going to have the wool pulled over their eyes anymore. Maybe in 1960 or 1970 or whatever, people would just kind of like turn a blind eye and whatever. But listen, the American people are not stupid, okay? We have woken up. We're not going to get lied to by our government, regardless of who in the government is doing the lying. We're not going to do that. We're not going to lay down. And so I actually have some good news for you guys today. The first bit of good news is that Dan Bongino actually showed up to work today at the FBI. Today's Monday. People said he walked out of the office. He was enraged on Friday afternoon, and rumors were circulating that he was going to actually resign over the weekend as a consequence of the way that this entire situation has been handled. Bongino has been pissed. Okay, well, he showed up to work today. So there's one thing. Also, folks, we have some massive breaking news of the day here. We have a lot of massive breaking news. The Trump administration is going to be releasing more evidence related to the Jeffrey Epstein case and offer greater conspiracy per Laura Trump. We have this on video. Laura Trump made an appearance on the Benny Johnson show just a couple hours. This is like breaking news as of 90 minutes ago, literally. Take a look to Laura Trump. Take a listen to Laura Trump. This is her 90 minutes ago. This is Donald Trump's daughter-in-law. Take a listen here.
What would be your advice? Given this back and forth, we're just coming off of Turning Point here in Tampa. This was the topic of conversation. What would be your advice in order to take the temperature down on this issue from within the administration?
Well, I do think that there needs to be more transparency on this. And I think that will happen. I mean, look, I don't know what truly exists there, but I know that this is something that's important to the president as well. He does want transparency on all these fronts, that everything we're talking about, because it's frustrated him as well. He sat for 4 years like the rest of us did and saw lie after lie and saw our country just being sent down the wrong path. And it was really frightening and very upsetting to a lot of people to see. And I would actually say over the past 10 years, we've all kind of endured this. Prior to that, it was probably happening, Benny, but we just weren't as aware of it. It wasn't until Donald Trump came down that golden escalator that he just kind of blew the doors off of everything. And people started to wake up and realize, wait a minute, things are not as they have always been presented to us.
Very true.
And I do believe that you will see that. Now, as it relates to the president, I know that this is probably not his number one thing he's focused on. He's focused on a lot of other important things. We've got this big announcement with Russia going on, I think, as we're speaking right now at the White House. We have, a Middle East. We're trying to get peace over there. We're trying to make sure that Iran's nuclear arsenal is obviously completely decimated. We want to make sure everything is on the right track for this country. Fortunately, you've seen no border crossings in the last month. Zero, by the way. I think that's incredible. No one's talking about that enough. Zero illegal border crossing.
By the way, I just want to say something because I keep seeing people on Twitter say this. I don't know, maybe people in the chat. It is possible to be concerned about multiple issues. Okay, just because you are concerned about Epstein and the cover-up going on, the very blatant cover-up going on, does not mean that you don't care about the border, or you don't care about the Middle East, or you don't care about Russia or whatever, or NATO deal, whatever else is going on. Folks, it is possible to be concerned and care about multiple issues. We can talk about the border, and also we can talk about Epstein in the same day, in the same conversation. We are not automaton idiot robots. We are critical free thinkers here. That's how we do it on the right side of the aisle. We can have opinions about multiple things.
In the month of June, amazing how that's all gone. So I don't know that this was top of mind for him, but he hears all the noise and he hears all of the consternation out there, and I think he's going to want to set things right as well. So I believe that there will probably be more coming on this, and I believe anything that they are able to.
Laura Trump, President Trump's daughter-in-law, thinks there's going to be more information coming from the Trump admin soon.
Release that doesn't, damage any witnesses or anyone underage or anything like that. I believe they'll probably try to get out sooner rather than later because they hear it and they understand it. So hopefully we see that happen sooner than later. And I guess that would be my advice. But to everybody out there who's all worked up about it, there's no great plot to keep this information away that I'm aware of. I do just believe that maybe it's been slow rolled for reasons that hopefully we understand down the line. And I think we're probably going to get more transparency on it very soon.
So, folks, what did she say about halfway through her little spiel here? What did she say? She said that President Trump has seen the frustration of the base. Do you remember when she said that about halfway through this? Folks, what does that mean? Listen, guys, over the last week, we have seen 3 different types of Trump voters, okay, of Trump supporters. We've seen 3 different types, and I'm going to break them down. You've seen Trump voters over the last week that have been saying, hey, shut up, trust the plan, no critical thinking. You need to shut up and get in line and stop asking questions and trust the plan and shut the hell up. This is not a big deal, whatever, okay? You've seen those people. That's obviously not how I am. We've been talking about this stuff a lot. You also have people on the other side of the spectrum that are saying, F Donald Trump, F this, F that. He lied to us. I'm burning my Trump hat. I'm out. It's over, man. I wish I voted for Kamala Harris. Oh, voting for Trump was a mistake. Screw him. You've seen those people also. Okay. And obviously that's not where I am either. And then you have a group of people in the middle and we're saying, listen, this is unacceptable. We need accountability for all these victims. The Epstein thing, this is a very clear cover up. We don't want to be lied to. President Trump, we're trying to give you our feedback to let you know we expect answers on this. Trump, respectfully, as your voters, as your electorate, we expect more on this topic. Okay? That's where we are. Listen, we're not going to stop talking about it. We want more. We want answers. This is why we voted for you. And we're not extreme that way. We're not extreme this way. It's just like, listen, this is not going away. We're going to keep talking about this. We need more information here. We are unsatisfied. That doesn't mean we hate you. That doesn't mean we're anti-MAGA or that we wish we voted for Kamala or whatever, okay? These two extremes, I think the appropriate answer is somewhere here in the middle. And so you know what? Once again, what did Laura Trump say? Just now, halfway through this, what she said is that President Trump is aware of the frustration of the base. That's us. We have been respectfully voicing our concerns. And also, she said that she expects in the near future that she's going to release, or not her, but that the Trump administration will release more information. So as far as I'm concerned, guess what? Listen, all of us adult, respectful people here, us expressing our concerns using our, what's it called, the First Amendment right, seems to have worked. You know, time will tell. I guess we got to see what we get in the near future. But according to her, seems like us kind of giving our feedback here and saying, hey, listen, holding our political leadership accountable, which is kind of what this entire country's built on, holding our political leadership accountable here, expressing our opinions. That's how our system is constructed. We should do that. If you're not doing that, then you are failing your job as a voter, as a citizen. If you're like, shut up, get back in line. Listen, it's actually the only way that this system works is if we don't shut up and don't get back in line. Okay, just by the way. Now, anyway, let me take a look at some of these super chats here. I see Lord Ravener has gifted 5 memberships. Thank you very much. I appreciate that a lot. Citizen M says people need to understand that there is information that the government deals with, such as espionage, that doesn't ever get released to the public for good reason. I mean, that's also true. True. Solinger, hey, thank you very much. Thank you. So this is the news of the day. Maybe Maxwell is going to come out and testify here in front of Congress. Maybe. Part of the rumor here is that the congressional GOP actually doesn't want her talking in front of Congress. Keep in mind, once again, Maxwell, as I said earlier, this woman is probably not the most trustworthy. So it's entirely possible she gets up in Congress, Maxwell here, who is a convicted child sex trafficker, whatever. She's Epstein's #1 gal. She gets up there. Who's to say she's not lying or spreading misinformation, whatever, right? So who really knows what her word is worth? But anyway, she wants to get up in front of Congress and tell her side of the story for whatever that's worth. And then also the takeaway here is that we're hearing now from Laura Trump, President Trump's daughter-in-law, married to one of Trump's sons. We're hearing that the Trump administration is going to release more information about Epstein soon, and that Donald Trump himself has understood and heard the frustrations of the base, which has compelled him to release more information soon. All right, a little bit vindicated here. Let's move on, folks. Thank you for tuning in. We have another bombshell story of the day. Check this out. Biden tells the New York Times he did not individually approve the names of many that he pardoned via the autopen. Here he is. You forgot about this guy, President Joe Biden. Former President Joe Biden admitted to the New York Times that he did not individually sign off on each of the pardons issued via his autopen signature to batches of criminals at the end of his term, though he reportedly delineated criteria for pardons to his staff. Let's find out what that means. In the final months of his term, Biden issued 4 large sets of pardons, 3 of which were categorical clemency actions covering large swaths of people, reducing prison sentences, getting people out of prison, etc. Per the outlet, Biden approved standards to give out categorical pardons to criminals in his final months in office, but staff ultimately ran a final list of names that supposedly met Biden's criteria through the autopen, though it had not been revised or personally checked off by Biden himself. So we're going to keep reading here. What this sounds like to me is Biden said, all right, listen, staff members, you can go ahead and give pardons to people that are, they're born between the months of January and March, and they need to be between the ages of 25 and 57 years old, and they have to be, African, like what is like a list of criteria. Obviously, I'm being silly here, but he passed his his staffers a list of criteria and said, all right, you can pardon whoever you want as long as they fall within this set of criteria, right? I don't think that's how it's supposed to work, ladies and gentlemen. Let's keep reading here. Mr. Biden did not individually approve. He did not individually approve each name for the categorical pardons that applied to large numbers of people he and his own aides have now confirmed. Rather, after extensive discussion of different possible criteria, he signed off on the standards he wanted to be used to determine which convicts would qualify for a reduction of sentence. I don't think that's how it works, former President Biden. That might be a problem for you and all of your friends. Even after Mr. Biden made that decision, one former aide said the Bureau of Prisons kept providing additional information about specific inmates, resulting in small changes to the list. Problematic. Rather than ask Mr. Biden to keep signing revised versions, his staff waited and then ran the final version through the autopen, which they saw as a routine procedure, the aide said. Yeah, this is going to blow up. This is going to backfire on them big time. The emails indicate that Biden would say what the criteria were for the batches of pardons in meetings with top advisors, including Chief of Staff Jeffrey Zients, we're going to talk about him here in a minute, and White House counsel Ed Siskel, who would then relay Biden's wishes to their assistants per the report, and then they would sign off on all these autopen stuff, all these autopen pardons. The assistants would reportedly craft accounts that would be reviewed by senior advisors like Zients and Siskel, as well as others in the meetings, and make their way to Feldman, who wanted written documentation of Biden's instructions. In one instance, on January 19th, the day before Biden left office, emails show that Zients personally gave his own sign-off on a last-minute draft summary minutes before receiving an email seeking its approval. Mr. Zients hit reply all and wrote, I approve the use of the autopen for the execution of all of the following pardons, according to the email. That's a smoking gun. It's over. They are done. President Trump weighed in on this autopen scandal a couple hours ago on these breaking news developments. Take a look at this, then we're going to have a little bit more to talk about here.
Look, the autopen, I think, is maybe one of the biggest scandals that we've had in 50 to 100 years. This is a tremendous scandal. And I know the people on the other side of the, see that desk, that Resolute desk? Unfortunately, he used it before me. But, we have our choice of 7 desks. They're all beautiful. But I chose the Resolute, and so did he, unfortunately. But the people on the other side of the Resolute desk, I know them. Lisa, the whole group, and they're no good. They're sick people. And I guarantee you he knew nothing about what he was signing.
Absolutely.
I guarantee it. Look,
now, there is something very curious. There is at least one part, and by the way, Biden signed off on thousands of pardons. Biden passed through more pardons than like the last 3 presidents combined. I want to say off memory, I looked into this a couple months ago. If you add up all of the pardons of George W. Bush, Barack Obama, and President Trump in his first term, add it all up, and then multiply it by 2, all of those combined, Biden still passed through more pardons than that. Okay, this guy was pushing through pardons like he was insane, and he was insane. But the thing is, he wasn't even the one pushing the pardons, as we now know. It was the autopen. Okay, now the reason why some of this information is starting to come out now is because President Trump actually created a new job a couple months ago he created within the Department of Justice. He gave this guy, Eagle Ed Martin, probably Ed Martin is his name. He gave him the job, the U.S. Pardon Attorney. This guy's full-time job, legal professional within the Department of Justice, is to look at every single pardon Joe Biden's administration pushed through and determine the legitimacy and the merits of what really went on here. And so really it's this guy who's doing all the manual lifting, doing all the hard work, getting to the bottom of this. And now we're starting to see some of this stuff come out. Turns out a lot of these pardons were completely bogus. So remember a moment ago, I said that one pardon out of this 8,000 pardons or whatever it was, one pardon actually was legitimately Joe Biden, but most of them were not. So this is what the autopen pardons actually looked like. Take a look at this. Look at this. These are all Joe Biden autopen pardons, and they are all exactly the same. This is for the J6 committee. This is for the Oversight Project. This is for the Lundergan pardon. This is General Milley, his pardon. Dr. Fauci's pardon. All of these, this is the Biden family pardons, the J6 committee pardons, the Lundergan pardon, General Milley pardon, and also the Anthony Fauci pardon. All of them, rewind this, how crazy is this? All of these are autopen. They are all exactly the same, meaning we don't even know if Joe Biden knew this was happening, per this report that came out. Now, there is one pardon that we know Joe Biden personally signed off on, which is a little bit weird. It's a little bit unique. Why? This is for his son. This is for Hunter Biden. Joe Biden personally signed off. It actually is his signature. It's different than the autopen signature, the pardon, the sweeping 10-year-long blanket pardon, the preemptive blanket pardon for Hunter Biden. And so you can say, oh, it's kind of endearing. It's a father's love for his son, even though it is highly corrupt and highly unethical. I guess it is a father's love for his son. He's trying to protect his son, even though it is disgusting and unethical. But out of all the pardons, out of the thousands of pardons, there was one that he signed off on his own, on himself, and it was for his son. All the others are autopen, and so maybe that's a little bit telling. Do you think maybe this kind of means that Joe Biden, in the back of his senile geriatric brain, I'm sorry, I'm being a little bit rude here, but maybe Joe Biden deep down kind of knew that what was going on here with these autopen pardons was baloney, that this was not going to hold up, that if President Trump got back in the White House, that this stuff was going to get torn apart, that it was not going to stand up in a courtroom or under an investigation, which is why he just to be safe, just to be double, triple, super, triple safe for his own son, he signed off on it himself. Wouldn't be surprised. Now, we saw, here's maybe the final big update of the day. We saw that in these autopen pardons, one of them is who? Dr. Fauci. He gave a preemptive blanket pardon. Well, with all of this autopen pardon stuff coming out, we're realizing, okay, that Joe Biden actually wasn't involved in any of this. Guess what? Rand Paul, and you know he's got a bone to pick with Dr. Fauci. Rand Paul, as of like 5 hours ago, this is breaking news earlier this morning, Rand Paul has officially reissued his criminal referral of Anthony Fauci to the Department of Justice. So now that all this pardon stuff is getting blown apart, we're realizing just how illegitimate and fraudulent these pardons really have been. Rand Paul is saying, all right, I'm going in. All right, we're taking this guy back. We're going to try to get him back in front of Congress, get this case in front of the DOJ. We are going in. This guy is going to be held accountable, because the first step is prove the pardons are illegitimate. Then it's criminally punish him and hold him accountable. So there's that. So maybe finally some things are happening. I want to take a look at the super chats here real quick. $20 super chat from CA. He says, it's no longer 1964. We can handle the truth. I think you're right. And listen, even if they thought we couldn't handle the truth on a lot of this stuff, guess what? The truth is going to come out. You cannot conceal information in 2025 like you could in 1985. We are in the era of information. We're in the information age. This stuff is getting leaked out. Or listen, we're just not taking no for an answer these days. We are awake. We're not woke, but we are awake is the best way to say that. Michael P. Let me take a look at this. Thank you very much. That's another big super chat. It says SCOTUS will find pardon power while absolute is non-delegable. I think you're right. It cannot be delegated to an autopen. DOJ should now bring indictments, and the pardons can be litigated as the prosecutions proceed. I think you're right. That is where we are going. This is what's happening inside of Trump's DOJ right now. At least something is happening inside of this DOJ. At least something. Lord Ravener, thank you. And also, what's his name? Toy Painter, thank you very much. I appreciate the super chat a lot. Folks, these are the two massive breaking news stories of the day. I want to keep these daily broadcasts short and sweet and to the point. So on that note, I want to say thank you all very much for tuning in today. If you are new to the channel, please make sure to subscribe and make sure to like the video down below. But guys, both with the Jeffrey Epstein situation, things are happening. This is not case closed. We heard from Lord Trump. We are getting more information soon. And why? It's because we, the American people, why we, the MAGA movement, the America First movement, we expect answers. We're holding our elected leadership accountable. And Trump is saying, you know what? All right, fair. We're going to give some more information. At least that's what we're hearing from Laura Trump, his daughter-in-law. Also, the Joe Biden pardon situation, the lid is getting blown off of this, and things are happening right now. So really good news. It really is, frankly, a good news day. Fingers crossed that things stay that way. Thank you all very much for tuning in. I appreciate it, guys. I will see you tomorrow, Monday to Friday. Here we are, live news daily broadcasts. Thank you all very much. Have a good evening. Have a good afternoon.